Security Plus and your IT career. Daniel is a CompTIA certified technical practitioner, CTT Plus, and has been CompTIA certified since 2010, having passed all the core and cybersecurity exams, including recertification. Daniel has taken and passed more than a dozen CompTIA exams. So our in-house CompTIA expert here to be able to tell you all about Security Plus.
Security Plus is one of those topics, one of those certifications that I really believe in heavily. Security Plus is the kind of certification that really applies to everybody in the IT community, not just those who want to specialize in security. There's a lot of emphasis in Security Plus on every single aspect of what security means for the enterprise in all different IT-based roles. So what we're going to focus on today is explain to you how Security Plus can help you in your own career achieve your own goals, and specifically with how training for Security Plus and passing that certification has an impact on your particular role and your particular position within your company. So we're going to cover this in 4 sections here. We're going to talk first of all at how important Security Plus is to the IT industry. CompTIA has worked very hard in developing Security Plus, and they've gotten input from a lot of important companies, including the US government, to help establish a quality foundational certification and the associated training programs that come with it to really make sure that our IT departments and the IT industry as a whole has that good foundation for security. We also are going to look at just Security Plus as an exam. What are the objectives? What is it you're going to learn within the Security Plus certification process? Global Knowledge does have an approved Security Plus course that we can deliver either as a boot camp where there's an exam on Friday for those of you who already have some experience, or in a more traditional 5-day corporate process where you can enjoy a live instructor and get some of that feedback, or even in an on-demand, we can get some of those security topics in an on-demand platform. Maybe not directly related to Security Plus, but at least some of those security topics covered in a variety of on-demand courses. So there are a number of different roles as well that can benefit from Security Plus, and we're going to talk about that for a few minutes. And then where do you go from there? Security Plus is a foundational certification. It's at the mid-level when it comes to the certifications out there. So what do you do next after you pass this particular exam? So let's go ahead and get started. So Security Plus, the reason why we put so much emphasis on this particular certification is that security in general is for everyone. We think about our users and how important it is for them to have security awareness because of how they can impact a company's security. Users oftentimes don't even know how important they are. How many times do you hear somebody say, oh, I don't worry about security, that's IT's job? It makes me cringe, right, when you think about that. And so we have to make sure our general users know what they have to do to support their part of the enterprise. They have email, using the internet, their handling of customer data, their handling of private company data, how they use their phone, who they talk to, what they share on social media. These are all factors that users need to be aware of that have a direct impact on our security. We think about the role security has for management. Ultimately, our security in the enterprise is based on our business strategies that come from management. So they need to be involved in the planning side of our security strategy. That we can't implement anything until management has given us a strong sense of where the business is going and how our security can help support those objectives. Consider facilities. How many times do you consider the fact that your custodial staff, your maintenance staff, they have access to every room in the building for the most part? And what about some of those really critical and secure areas? If you're using a third party for some of your facilities, do you know how that security is being supported? Do they have restrictions on where they can go and who can get into what areas? That's something we often have to think about. So security applies to a lot of our business. Of course, there's the obvious technical roles that have security emphasis, right? Our help desk needs to know how to properly handle those incoming calls. They need to be able to understand when a request complies with policy, how they should handle somebody asking for exceptions to policy. They should be aware of when somebody alerts them to a potential event or incident. How do they know it's an incident? How do they escalate that to the right department to get it addressed? All kinds of security issues that the help desk has to face. They're often the target for social engineering as well. We have the networking team. Now, no, I don't. I mean, when it comes to when it comes to the environment of your business, networking and security are probably the two most aligned teams, because what is a business without networking? And what most of our attacks happen through the network. So it's very important that networking and security work in very close alignment to be sure that our network configurations don't compromise our security and that our security doesn't impact the performance of networking. They have to work very close together. Our database management has to have a security mindset, because they're managing our actual data in the locations where that data is stored, and also in the accessing of that data. Consider the fact that a database has the ability to be accessed by hundreds of people, even thousands of people, depending on the scope of the business. How do you manage that access? How do you protect that data from unauthorized access? What if somebody tries to breach the database? Ultimately, when you hear about data breach, you're talking about a database that did not have enough security to resist an attack. So database management, those DBAs, they need to have a security mindset. Work carefully with the security team to build in the right kinds of access control, encryption, and other forms of data protection. System administrators, they're the ones who manage our servers and permissions for employees and Active Directory and some of those group policy options. They also have to understand security. A lot of our policy is enforced at this level by configuring workstations and servers to only do what they need to do, to carefully manage those permissions and the various access control methods. We have our software development. We often don't think too much about the development of off-the-shelf software, but if you develop software in your own organization or you purchase software from a third party, do you have any confidence that security was built into the entire development process? Most of our malware attacks and a lot of our network-based attacks even are looking for weaknesses in our applications to give them that foot in the door to get into our more critical databases and systems. We have to be sure those applications are designed with security in mind. And unfortunately, from what I've read, many of the software development training programs, the degree programs, don't include enough security, and some don't include any security. Now, obviously, there are going to be those that do a good job, but there are many programs out there with universities and other training organizations that don't provide enough security emphasis for their software developers. So we have to help provide some awareness there. I recommend that software developers take Security Plus for sure. In DevOps, specifically secure DevOps, how we develop our operations needs to have security in mind. All those operational policies and processes and procedures and implementation strategies, those things need to have security in mind. And we could go on and break this down in even more detail. All these different roles that have a security impact. So you can see why all these technicians, I wouldn't necessarily put my users in Security Plus or my CEOs and VPs in Security Plus, but I definitely would put all of my IT staff through Security Plus. In fact, the U.S. Department of Defense has decided that that is exactly what they're going to do. They require, through a program called 8570, that if you are going to have any interaction with the DoD network, that you should maintain a minimum Security Plus certification. And so CompTIA worked very hard to be sure that their Security Plus was 8570 compliant, and it remains so to this day. The aerospace and defense community also relies heavily on Security Plus. Many of those are contractors of the DoD, and as a result have to comply with 8570 as well, by extension. The education industry cares about security. They have a number of regulations that they have to support the privacy and security of the students. Nonprofit organizations rely heavily on Security Plus to protect donor information, the finances, and all these types of things that they have to support. Construction, architecture, engineering. By the way, this is a list that CompTIA provides of the top 5 industries that rely on Security Plus. And of course, this is not every industry, and a lot of industries do support Security Plus, but these are the top 5. And look at the number of employees worldwide that would rely on these industries and would probably benefit from having Security Plus if it's not already a requirement for them. So you can see, hopefully, how important Security Plus is and why we put so much emphasis on it. Now, real briefly, just to kind of show you the scope of how big Security Plus actually is, I like to describe it this way. It's about a mile wide and a few feet deep. I wouldn't say inches deep, because there are some important technical details that Security Plus expects you to know. But it doesn't necessarily make you an expert in those areas. It's simply a foundations certification to give you that foundation so you can take it to a higher level. So it's a broad topic, and you do have to know some details, but it's not expert level. It's intermediate level. One example is under threats, attacks, and vulnerabilities. You have to be able to understand malware and how systems can get compromised and how you know you've been compromised. You have to have the different kinds of attacks in other areas, who's doing the attack, how you can test for the potential for attacks with penetration testing and vulnerability scanning, and the impacts associated with various vulnerabilities. You have, basically, I like to word it this way: if by the time you achieve your Security Plus, you aren't just a little bit more paranoid, we all haven't done our job, right? You have to understand the worst case scenarios and all the bad things that can happen to you without security. It helped to reinforce why security is so important. In the second domain, we also have to have you understand your technologies and tools, all the various network components, both hardware and software based, to support security, all the software tools to help with your security, all the troubleshooting, the analyzing the output from those technologies, being able to read the logs and analyze the reports, mobile security, and also protocols that support security. A lot of important details there. We also care about architecture and design, using appropriate frameworks, helping with secure network architecture, secure systems design, secure staging related to software development, the importance of embedded systems, the importance of secure application development and deployment, cloud and virtualization, resiliency and automation strategies, physical security. Under the identity and access management domain, we're looking at all the various access management concepts, including establishing identity and access services, implementing appropriate management controls, and differentiating between different account management practices. We also care about risk, how we incorporate policies, plans, and procedures into our security platform, understanding the business impact analysis, risk management, incident response, forensics, disaster recovery, and continuity of operations, the different controls that we need for all of these, and then understanding data security and privacy. I often call this domain the business side of security. And then finally, cryptography, one of the most foundational security tools that we have to protect the confidentiality and integrity of our data, is encryption. And so understanding the basics of cryptography, the various algorithms that are used, wireless security and the importance of cryptography there, and finally, public key infrastructure, how we secure our communication over the internet. There's so much covered in a course like Security Plus that it touches every aspect of our business. Everything is addressed in Security Plus. And I think sometimes people come into this not really understanding or expecting to see that much of a broad scope. I mean, we even talk about fire suppression. And yes, on this exam, you can expect to have questions on how to choose the right fire extinguisher for your servers and for your data centers, because that's part of physical security. We cover it all. So everybody can benefit from this, as you can see by these domains. So who benefits from the specific IT role? Excuse me. Your systems admins, like we mentioned, of course, benefit greatly from a Security Plus type job, type certification, because of their role in providing group policy and Active Directory and permissions, setting up those servers and workstations. Your network administrator certainly will benefit because of their role in helping to manage network infrastructure and the security that goes along with that, routers and switches and gateways and all of that. Security admins, obviously, because security is in the name, they are the ones in charge of designing a lot of our policies and security configurations. They need to be sure that they have a good foundational understanding, of course, is in their title. Junior IT auditors and pen testers, confirming our security. Security Plus is great for establishing that foundation. Several other security type roles, security specialists, security consultants, security engineers. You can add in security followed by any word and they would benefit from Security Plus. And on top of that, all the other IT roles, help desk. Even if your job is just repairing computers, there are certain aspects of security you should understand as you're handling these parts and putting the computers together and installing images and installing operating systems and making repairs. We have to make sure we maintain certain security standards. I mean, I would put this emphasis on any of these critical IT roles. So Security Plus as a foundation is a very important part of what I consider to be any IT career. So what is it you can do with it? Well, certainly Security Plus can be the beginning of a very lucrative role in security as a cybersecurity expert. Global Knowledge has our annual salary report that we put out. It's available on our website. You can go to the resources tab and it's down there at the bottom of the list. We survey hundreds and thousands of different IT professionals all over the world to get some idea of what are the most sought after certifications. What are the topics of certifications that provide us with the most value as employees? And what do businesses really value when it comes to paying for training? And what we find year after year is that cybersecurity is either the first or second place every year, because it's that important. Businesses spend a lot of money on security training, and people search after important quality security certifications to help bolster their careers and improve their careers. Well, CompTIA has their own process to help you do that. And we wanted to show you, if you start off with Security Plus, where can you go from there? And they broke up their cybersecurity pathway into 3 different levels. There's the specialist level, sort of the entry level. There's the professional level, that next step up, and then ultimately the expert level that you can really take it to the top. So at your specialist level, this is where you get your entry level, your junior technicians, your junior security experts. This is where they call it the CompTIA Secure Infrastructure Specialist. And that's where you get your A+ for your PC support, your Network Plus for your network support, and then Security Plus to round it all out with all those security concepts. That's a really great place to start a really solid career. That's actually how I started my career. When I got into IT, I did A+, and then I did Network Plus, and then I did Security Plus. And I was able to be very successful starting out with those. Did I end there? Absolutely not, of course. The professional level allows you to add in some additional topics to enhance your skills and become a specialist in certain areas. So for example, the CSCP, the CompTIA Secure Cloud Professional, takes Security Plus plus the Cloud Plus. The CSAP, the CompTIA Security Analyst Professional, Security Plus in addition to Cybersecurity Analyst Plus. You can go with your CompTIA Network Vulnerability Assessment Professional, having Sec Plus and Pen Test Plus. Or even your CNSP, the CompTIA Network Security Professional with Sec Plus, Pen Test Plus, and CISA Plus. Just round it all out, get all 3 of those. Those are all their intermediate level certifications in the cybersecurity pathway. At the expert level, you take your CISA and your Pen Test Plus, combine it with CASP, which is the CompTIA Advanced Security Practitioner. Then in this case, you really can build that advanced level certification. CASP was designed for your engineers, those who are your architects, those that are designing and implementing the enterprise-wide security projects, and understanding how security fits into the whole business. A very important security role that we need in our enterprises to help tie the business in with the technical side. It's not quite the same thing as like a CISO or some of those more management roles. This is an engineer. This is an architect. This is a technical role who also understands the business. It's a really, really neat certification. It's hard, but it's very quality. I highly recommend it for those of you with that level. CISA Plus, just to make mention of it, is the Cybersecurity Analyst Plus for those that want to be on the defensive side of security, whereas Pen Test Plus is for those that want to be on the offensive side of security with their penetration testing skills. And both of them take a vendor agnostic approach. We don't dig in too deeply into any one vendor. You want to understand it generally, no matter what vendor your organization might use in either of those categories. So at that level, you're really getting into some of those advanced security concepts. Let me just very quickly show you the CompTIA website and where you can go to find more information about these certifications. They are at CompTIA.org. And right away, you have to know that this is a nonprofit organization, and they have a separate page for the members of their nonprofit. You do not have to be a member in order to become certified. Those are separate parts of their business. For those of you who do want to be members, you support the various educational goals of CompTIA, helping with research and helping to improve the IT industry as a whole. But under the certification site, where we spend most of our time, under the certification tab, you can see all their certifications that we just discussed. There's the core and the cybersecurity certifications. They do have a separate pathway for infrastructure if you want to get into cloud and Linux and server configurations. But here we're going to focus on cybersecurity for today. I would recommend that you take the time to investigate several of these pages to look at where you can go from here. Specifically with Security Plus, this is the one that our topic for today is all about. As we scroll down, you can see a lot of the information that I shared with you already about why this is so important. Cybersecurity certifications across the board come from a variety of vendors, but Security Plus is unique in that it's not just about knowledge. They have skills-based, performance-based questions that they want to make sure you can actually do certain things, that you can interact with the knowledge, not just answer some multiple choice questions. And so it's unique in that way. There are some basic hands-on practical skills that they want you to be able to come away with on top of the knowledge. You can see some of the details I've already shared. Moving on down here to the exam itself. This particular version's been out since October 4th. They do update this every 3 years or so you can expect by 2020, end of the year 2020, maybe another version coming out. Here's a quick description of what is in the exam. It's 90 questions, multiple choice, performance-based, and they give you 90 minutes to complete the exam, more than enough time for people to finish. You need to get a 750 out of 900 to pass. And while it's not required, they do recommend you come in with some kind of networking experience. Either you need to get Network Plus or have some kind of networking experience equivalent to the Network Plus. And they also recommend 2 years of experience with IT administration with a security focus. That is not required. You can have equivalent knowledge of those topics and still be successful. You don't need to actually go out and have that experience, but it certainly makes it a lot easier, doesn't it? So we do recommend you go in that order, especially if you're going to take a more aggressive approach like a boot camp. And it's available in several languages for you. Remember those objectives I showed you? You can get those over here by looking at by filling in your information and then selecting that you agree to the terms and conditions, and then they will allow you to download a PDF that goes into a lot more detail than I gave you, spelling out individual bullet points of some things that are covered on the exam. So this is an area where you can come and learn all about the Security Plus exam and what it is that you'll need in order to pass. Now, of course, Global Knowledge can provide you with all those resources. We have a very well-developed Security Plus program. And so if you have any questions about how you can get involved in Security Plus, we recommend that you contact your account manager and have them help you come up with a good strategy to be successful in your Security Plus journey. Now, it's not all about CompTIA. I happen to be a big CompTIA guy. I'm a CompTIA instructor. I spend most of my time teaching CompTIA, but it's not the only fish in the sea. We have a number of other non-CompTIA certifications that CompTIA actually will recommend. They support these as ongoing training beyond what CompTIA is currently offering. For example, there's EC Council. EC Council has several good certifications, but two that are very popular are C&D, Certified Network Defender, and the CEH, the Certified Ethical Hacker. The C&D is kind of the blue team defense. CEH is kind of the red team offense. And then ultimately, if you follow the EC Council pathway, you can go to the forensics path. You can go all the way to the penetration testing path. There's a lot of ways that you can use EC Council to further your career, depending on what it is you're after. ISACA is a nonprofit organization that has a number of important certifications related to management. There's the CISM, the Cybersecurity Information Systems Manager, if you're in that sort of a management kind of role. There's CISA, the Cybersecurity Information Systems Auditor, if you're in the auditing kind of function. And then there's the CRISC, which focuses on risk management of your information systems. So there's a number of good business certifications related to cybersecurity. ISC Squared is known for their security certifications. Primarily, that CISSP is one that everybody always talks about. It's a very popular certification for security experts. But there's one that's actually a lower step down called SSCP, the Systems Security Certified Practitioner. And that is one that if you're looking to step up to CISSP, consider that one as you further your career. You can also go the vendor-specific route, and Global Knowledge partners with many of the major vendors out there to provide high quality and authorized training, so you know you're getting the best that there is. Cisco with things like CCNA Security, Cisco Cybersecurity Specialist. Microsoft has a number of security-based Microsoft certifications like the Core Infrastructure of Server 2016 certification. Red Hat has a number of security certifications. There's Symantec, McAfee, Juniper, and the list goes on and on and on of all these various tech companies that sell products, but they want to be sure that their customers and their employees are certified in how to use and secure those products. And so we have partnered with many of them to provide high quality training in that regard. So with all of these different options, even if you're not interested in cybersecurity as a career, consider how just Security Plus alone, as an addition to whatever your job function is. Let's say you're a professional programmer and you're trying to develop high quality applications for your organization, or maybe you're a vendor and you're selling your software to other companies. How much better is your company going to be able to do in this world if you know that your application is not going to be the next victim of some data breach or attack? Because you have confidence that you put security all the way throughout, and you have an ongoing security support by having security patches and updates. When you have that through the entire development process, that product now becomes important to the industry, as opposed to the products that don't do that end up becoming the next breached software. Or let's say that your focus is on networking. Maybe you don't want to be that cybersecurity expert, but you do want to provide really good, sturdy network infrastructure. And so focusing on networking, but having that security foundation really does go a long way. And Cisco, as one of the primary network providers out there, many of their certification courses include plenty of security discussions on top of their functional discussions. But Security Plus ties really nicely in with some of those Cisco certifications. If you're a sysadmin and you want to be a sysadmin, having that security foundation will help you make better decisions as you configure those servers, as you configure those workstations, and how you configure them to work together, making sure you consider all the security elements that are tied into that, whether it be Microsoft, whether it be Linux, Red Hat, or some other open source Linux distro. Even if you want to stick with an all Apple infrastructure. I've heard of people who do that. Having some way of securing these devices for your organization. Then we can keep going with examples, but I think you catch my drift. Really, as a foundational concept, you need security. Everybody does. And whether it be as a user, getting some general awareness training, or whether you're a technician who comes in for this technical training like Security Plus, we don't want you to neglect that. We want to make sure you stay focused on what's really important, protecting our data while still providing our services to our customers. So I'm going to turn it back over to Sarah. She's going to help with passing questions to me. Sarah, have you been getting questions throughout the presentation?
Yes, so first one that I have here, how often do I need to renew Security Plus?
That's a good question. Like many certifications in our current certification environment, we expect that you're going to have ongoing training and development. It's not going to just be a one-time and you're done. CompTIA across the board for all of their core and cybersecurity and even some of their infrastructure certifications require a 3-year renewal process. And actually, while I have it up still, let me show you where you can get more information. CompTIA calls it continuing education. So you can come here to their website under the continuing education program tab, and they have all the information related to that. There are some fees involved, although they are cheaper than the actual certification itself. You do have to compensate them some. They do have operational expenses that they're nonprofit, but they have to have money. So we contribute to their goals by paying for these fees. You also have to earn units. They call them CEUs, Continuing Education Units. Every vendor has their acronym, and this is CompTIA's acronym. There are several ways to do this. Some can be renewed with a single activity, others multiple activities. It's all up to how you like to do things. Most of us do these activities as a part of our career anyway, like going to conferences and coming to webinars and things like that. CompTIA does have some minimum requirements if you want to claim that this is a certifiable renewal credit. You have to make sure that they agree before you try to claim it. So there is a process. Let me see if I can find the link here for you, where you can do an assessment. Here it is, CEU assessment, to help decide if what I'm about to do is going to qualify as a proper credit to renew my certification. So they have all the different links, different details here regarding all the certifications, but 3 years, and you have to follow their CEU process. Next question.
Okay, so what is the cost of the security courses that Global Knowledge offers?
Well, we have our ticket price that you can see on our website, and let me just kind of briefly show you how to use our website as well. globalknowledge.com has, the listing price that we would advertise. Let's go ahead and find Security Plus in here. There it is. The Security Plus Certification Prep course. Excuse me. So depending on the format, it ranges anywhere from $14.95 to $36.95. But we also have a number of specials that will run throughout the year, so keep an eye out for those. Sometimes they're a BOGO special. Sometimes it's a buy a course, get a gadget kind of a special. So we always are running various kinds of deals that you can be on the lookout for depending on what's going on at the time. We also offer group training opportunities. If you have several people in your own organization who need the same thing, you may be able to make special arrangements with your account manager, and they can have an instructor come to you. And we can offer a more specialized pricing package for you depending on what your needs are. There is the list price, and then there, you may be able to call and find out other details related to any specials that are running or any special pricing for custom training that you might need.
Great, thanks. So another one I have here, I'm not on the technical site and not on the compliance site. So they're in between as a consultant in SOC. Is there any certification after Security Plus that would fit this role? Or do you know of anything that could be planned?
So if I understand the question correctly, you're not a technician, but you're also not specifically an auditor. You're more of like a consultant who helps others make decisions on their security. I think, is that what I read from that? Where you advise the various SOCs out there and what they need to do with their security solutions. I think if that's what you meant, then I definitely see value in some of those ISACA courses, because they take a more of a high level theoretical approach, and they look at strategic planning. They look at how business is affected by security as opposed to just all the technical details. It does require some low-level technical knowledge that Security Plus would offer. So that Security Plus foundation feeds really well into something like CISM, where you're looking at it from that high view, that what I call the business side, where making those strategic decisions and designing things, the governance and the risk management and policy development, where you're not necessarily in charge, but you're also not a technician either. You're sort of in that in-between space, whether you're an employee offering your advice or where you're an outside consultant offering your advice. That wouldn't be a bad path for you. I think you'd find great value in that.
Great, yeah, it looked like that answered his question there. So another one I have, would taking a Global Knowledge Security Plus course qualify me to take the exam, or do I still need additional courses or CEU credits?
If this is your first time approaching Security Plus, I highly recommend a course. Global Knowledge courses are all inclusive. We have everything you need in our class to pass the exam. So you take the class, you do your self-study with what we give you. That's all you need. Now, technically speaking, you don't need to take any class. CompTIA doesn't have a minimum requirement for training. You can go buy the voucher right now and try the test. But I think you'll be more successful with a class. And Global Knowledge has specifically designed our course to provide you with every resource you will need to pass. So we are a one-stop shop, if you will.
Okay, I'm another person here who had a Security Plus, has their Security Plus, but their certification expired before they took before they took their credits. What would be the next step for them to redeem their Security Plus certification? Would they have to redo the exam, or?
Yes, unfortunately, once that 3 years has expired, CompTIA is pretty strict about you do have to retake the exam. But I can say, having already passed it once, you should not have a very difficult time passing it again. The changes that happen every 3 years are usually less than 25% change. So you're not going to see any significant, monstrous changes to the exam. It's just a matter of grabbing that objectives document, reviewing some of the new domains, the new topics that maybe are new to you, and then retaking the exam. Yeah. If you want to stick with the credit process, you do have to get those in before the expiration date.
Okay. So a couple of questions in here actually around how much the exam is, and if you can provide any more details on actually writing like the exam. So how many questions there typically are, or what kind of style of questions are included.
Absolutely. If you go directly through CompTIA's website, the cost of the certification, let me go ahead and just pull it up and show you, is $339. Here it is, $339. Now, most of the time, if you go through our traditional course that we provide to the general public, unless there's some negotiated reason why not, we give a free voucher for your first attempt. So if you take our course, you get a voucher. That's across the board for Security Plus. That's one of our standards. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. So that's always a good way to get the training and your voucher all in one. They also have a number of other ways. Let's say, unfortunately, this does happen. You didn't pass your first attempt, and you're looking to get that second voucher. But $340 seems like a lot of money, and maybe this is out of pocket for you. I know some of my early certs were. I wasn't in IT yet. I was trying to get into IT, so I had to pay for my own vouchers. You can get vouchers oftentimes by buying study materials. We have a number of recommended publishers that we actually use that provide a voucher if you buy their material. Groups like Cybex and McGraw-Hill, they all have various discount programs related to passing the exam. So that's an option if you're looking for a discount or another way to get a certification voucher aside from your training with us. I said that first attempt didn't work and you need one more attempt. These are some of the other ways that you can get a discount. As for the exam itself, CompTIA has these two formats, the multiple choice format and the performance-based format. In a performance-based question, this is one of the big unknowns and kind of scary for a lot of people. They're not sure what I mean by that. I can tell you it's not a simulation like Cisco does. I don't know how many of you have achieved the Cisco certification, but they give you a little terminal window and you have to type into the interface and actually configure the routers and switches, and it's very intimidating. CompTIA doesn't do that. Instead, they create an environment with sort of this interactive interface where you simply have to make decisions from multiple domains kind of all at the same time. It may involve clicking on links. It may involve clicking and dragging things around the screen. There may even be some pseudo configuration interfaces. It's not the real interface you'll see in the world, but it is similar enough in a vendor neutral way that you get a sense for what it might be like to configure something. And you simply type little text boxes, select drop downs, check some radio buttons, that kind of an idea of these pseudo configuration opportunities. There may be some minimal command lines such as ipconfig or ping, something that's a really simple idea, nothing advanced, nothing vendor specific. It's always very vendor neutral. But that's your performance-based idea. It involves you pulling from several domains at the same time to interact with the screen in some way. I can't go into any more detail than that without giving away specific exam data, which is in violation of my non-disclosure. But just know that if you really have a mastery of these domains and you can read the question very carefully, how to complete the performance-based question is pretty clear. I've taken, as I said, over a dozen different CompTIA exams, and they all have performance-based questions. And even the more advanced ones, the simple ones, they all have very clear instructions on what you're supposed to do. It's all about mastering the topic. And that's the way we approach our training. We don't train you on how to pass each question because we don't know what questions you're going to get. We train you into mastering the topic, so no matter what question you get, you can answer it with confidence. That's our goal. For the multiple choice, which there's vastly more multiple choice than performance-based. On average, you'll see 2 to 5 performance-based questions on any specific exam delivery. But multiple choice, you can see as many as 85, 88 questions that are multiple choice. Multiple choice could be single answer. You choose one correct answer, or it could be multiple answer where you choose 2, choose 3, choose 4. CompTIA likes to take a scenario approach to their questions. So they'll describe to you a real world situation with real world details. They even name their characters. There's names in there. Sometimes they crack me up on who they name. But they give these names, they describe the characters, they describe the situation, and then they ask you a question about that scenario. And so it's the way you would have to approach the real world anyway. And so many times you get a question where you have to focus on one sentence out of that scenario to help you answer the question. And part of the fun, in my opinion, but the challenge is learning how to read these scenarios to pull out the relevant details that are going to help you approach the right solution. So those are the two basic formats that I can suggest that you pay attention to. They do offer some practice opportunities. For example, in the performance-based question, if you click this link on their website, it does take you to one example, so you can get a sense for what they mean by performance-based. And then over here, where you got your objectives from, there's also some practice questions of the multiple choice type that can give you a sense for what it's like to answer their questions. Global Knowledge also tries to provide a variety of study opportunities within our course, including some practice exams and study guides that can also help you practice those question types. I think that I cover all aspects of that question. I want to make sure I didn't miss any piece of it.
I think so. I'm not seeing any follow-ups, but I'll keep an eye out. So going back to, I have another one here. So just wanted to double check if it was recommended to attain an A+ or Network Plus before Security Plus, because you'd also mentioned that Security Plus was a base level kind of certification.
It's a really good question, and it's a question that comes up a lot. It's a matter of terminology on what we mean by foundation. So foundational means it's the beginning of your security studies, but it does not mean that it's beginner. And I actually attended several CompTIA webinars about Security Plus, and they were very specific to clear that up. This is an intermediate level exam for security foundational concepts. What that means is, in order to be successful at Security Plus, there's a certain level of prior knowledge you have to have. So, for example, if I go into a Security Plus class and I'm going to teach you on the topic of systems hardening, we're going to go through and describe the need for Windows Firewall. We're going to describe the need for shutting down certain services and adding anti-malware and all these different components of a PC. But if you don't have any real practical knowledge of how to support a PC, you might struggle a little bit more in the topic of systems hardening, just as an example. Same thing for Network Plus. If I start talking about the need for transport encryption and all these unsecure protocols and how sniffing can see things like your session details and TCP flags and your IP header and the protocol ID, and you've not taken any kind of networking training, it's going to go right over your head. We expect when you come into Security Plus that you have the required knowledge of basic PC function and support and basic network function and support so that we can talk about security. Especially in a 5-day delivery, which is how Global Knowledge delivers its training, we don't have time to go back and offer remediary training on A+ and Net Plus if those topics are weak for you. So I definitely would recommend that you have A+ and Net Plus. That being said, can you pass Security Plus with no prior experience? Yes. They don't require those. And if you know how to study, and if you're willing to take the time to learn those systems and to learn those details as a part of your Security Plus training, then you can be successful. I have taught many a student who started with Security Plus and then got an A+ later. It seems backwards, but it can happen. So recommended, yes, you should get A+, Net Plus first. Required, no. You can still be successful if you go out of order. Is it harder? Oh, yeah.
Okay, so going back to some of the courses that Global Knowledge offers, do both the self-paced on-demand and the classroom live format courses provide the voucher for the Security Plus exam?
Yeah, I kind of got ahead of myself earlier, and I tried to backpedal a little bit. We are in development for the Security Plus On Demand, but as far as I know, we don't have a Security Plus On Demand ready yet. That still is going to be some time away. We have the A+ and the Net Plus, and we also have several non-certification-based security courses that are offered on demand that can provide you with a lot of the same topics that support Security Plus. But unfortunately, we are still some time away from having a fully implemented Security Plus on-demand course. So I apologize for that misspeak earlier. as I said, we have some of the earlier CompTIA certs, but it's a process, of course, to develop these courses. So I guess that sort of answers the question. If you need the certification voucher, we have the live classroom and we have the live virtual classroom. So you can go online virtual, or you can go in live classroom at one of our training centers. But I apologize, we don't have a on-demand course yet. That was my mistake to say that. We have many. We have a lot of great courses on-demand, and I really recommend it. It's a great platform. And we will get Security Plus there eventually. That I can promise you.
Okay. So another question around, so we have someone who is a web developer, wondering what the best path would be for them. And they also have experience with DevOps. So
Security Plus does touch on both those topics. So at least at a foundational level, understanding why security is so critical to both of those fields. But once you finish Security Plus, you would have to probably go into some more vendor specific. If you know the kinds of development languages and development platforms you like to work with, is there a particular product that you like to work with? Many of those will offer training programs, and I know Global Knowledge does support many of those in helping you master your craft of developing that system, whether it be DevOps, general enterprise support, or be specifically with web development. You'd have to get more detailed into the languages you like to use, into the platforms you like to use, and things of that nature. I'm not in that field, so I really can't speak beyond the general. I'm not a developer. I don't have that skill set. I've tried. It's not in my DNA, I guess. I have a lot of respect for those of you who can do that, because it's necessary, and it's not me. So, yeah, look into those things that are specific to what you work with or what you want to work with. And there's a lot of training out there about specific languages and platforms.
okay, and so I have.
Are we running out of time?
I think we have. We've got one last one here. It is a two-part question,
Okay.
but this will be the last one we're able to take for this session. So, part one: are there any recommended sources of practice material online for Security Plus? And then part two of that question: how desired are the other CompTIA certifications? So they have the CoISA Plus, Pentest Plus, in comparison to certs offered by the EC Council, ISACA, and others.
Okay, I'll answer the first part. That's a little bit of an easier question. There are a lot of online resources out there. One of the cautionary things I would say first, before I give you any examples, is always be sure that any resource that you try to study specifically is referencing the objectives. There's a lot of material that it might be accurate, but it's insufficient to cover the scope of the exam. The objectives are why the exam exists. That's how the exam is written, and that's also how study materials should be developed. So start there. Any resource you look for, make sure that it covers the objectives in full if it's going to be valuable to you. There are some books out there for low cost. You can check out Amazon. I know some of there's things like the All-in-One book series, the Cybex book series, and I know CompTIA sells some of their own products for study purposes. If you're looking for something totally free, Professor Messer is a very popular choice. That he has YouTube videos for free. You just go into his website, professormesser.com. His last name is Messer, and watch his videos. He does a really good job presenting the objectives of Security Plus in a way that's really great to listen to. I like his voice. He's got a nice, smooth baritone voice, calming and relaxing, and helps you really focus. No, but he's really good at what he does, and he has excellent videos, totally for free, and I think that's always a good start. But always watch for those objectives. If they don't cover the objectives, it's not worth your time. The second part, I'm sorry, remind me the second part. before I try to answer it.
No problem. So the second part, how desired are other CompTIA certs? So they had the CYSA Plus, Pen Plus, or sorry, that was Pen Test Plus, in comparison to certs offered by EC Council, ISACA, and ISA.
Got it. So the best answer I can give right now is that CompTIA as an organization has developed a pretty strong reputation for quality vendor neutral certification, right? That being said, CySA Plus and Pen Test are very new. So how well different companies have adopted them as minimum standards, it's so new, it's really hard to say right now. Anytime you have a new product or a new certification, it takes some time to figure out how well adopted they're going to be and how well accepted they are. That being said, EC Council does get a lot of respect in the industry. C&D, for example, is a slightly different perspective from Security Plus, but at about the same level as Security Plus. So if you're looking to enhance those foundational concepts with some details in defensive strategies, it's kind of like a CySA Plus approach while still maintaining some of those foundational concepts. It's a nice hybrid between Security Plus and CySA Plus. CEH is definitely more difficult. It's definitely more advanced than what I think CompTIA offers, but it's also significantly more expensive. Its base price for CEH is $1,200. So it is well respected, but it's also very expensive. So you kind of have to weigh the pros and the cons. Will Pen Test Plus, because it's only about a year old, reach the same level as CEH? I can't predict that. It's so brand new. But CompTIA does have a strong reputation, so I think it's likely that we will definitely see Pen Test Plus rise to the levels of Security Plus. It's just so new, it's hard to give any kind of real positive answer on that. But CEH as an alternative would be a big investment that you'd have to weigh the pros and cons of that. So CySA Plus, not as new. It's about 2 or 3 years old. Pen Test Plus, about a year old. I think they released it last year sometime. Maybe end of 2017. Maybe it's been just over a year. So the newness of it makes it hard to really answer that question.
You can find a lot of great free resources available on the Global Knowledge website. So more webinars like the one we did today, as well as white papers, some of the courses that Daniel had mentioned as well. You can look at the outlines on the website. So please go and check it out. And if you have any specific resources you're looking for, please let us know. We are happy to help you guys find what you need.